Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, and in today's video I am going to be talking to you all about my most recent reads. If you're new to my channel, I never do a mid-month wrap-up, and I never do a monthly wrap-up because, quite frankly, ma'am, every time I try to film you have to start meowing. Because, quite frankly, sometimes in the middle of a month, I've only read like one book. So there's no sense in doing a wrap-up. And some months, I only read like 3, and I just don't think that's enough for a wrap-up. So what I typically like to do is I wait until there's like 4 or 5 books. And in this video, I do have 5. But having 5 books allows me to talk a little bit more about them. If there was like more than 5, then I would have to and I'm a talker. But first I would like to thank everybody who wished me a happy birthday yesterday. It was very, very good. I got a lot of book related presents that some are behind me, like that right there. But you'll see all that at the end of the month during my book haul. But if you have never seen one of my wrap-ups, what I like to do is I like to go in chronological order from the furthest back to the most recent read. I tell you the book, what it was about, what I liked about it, and the star rating. And I never give any spoilers because that's just cruel and no one needs to do that. So let's just get started with the first book that I read. The first book that I read was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. And I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. So why did I give it a 4 stars? Okay, this book is this is a clean romance, y'all. If you're looking for a clean, closed door romance, this is it. But you know what? It's not it for this girl because I'm not a fan.
I might not go back in. I'm gonna go home actually.
I have not read a closed door romance in so long, and it just felt weird. The story was great. The story was cute. I liked it, but I just don't think the closed doors are for me anymore. I want them wide open. I want the doors and the windows wide open for me. But in this book, we are following Florence, and she is a ghostwriter for this very well-known author. And at the beginning of the book, she's going to meet a new editor. And she goes, and he just happens to be this gorgeous guy named Ben. And she's trying to get an extension for the author to finish the book. And he's like, I can't give you too much of one, but, see what we can do. And then she gets a call from her mom saying she needs to come home. Her dad passed away. And, which you all find out, it's not a spoiler. And it just so happens that her family owns a funeral home. And it just so happens that our lead heroine can actually see and talk to ghosts.
I see dead people.
So when she ends up going home, one night she gets a knock at the door. And home as in back, like the funeral place. And she gets a knock at the door, and it's the editor, Ben, that she met. And as you come to find out, Ben is now a ghost. Ben is dead. And she can see him. She's the only one that can see him, talk to him. Her family knows about these kind of powers because her dad had them as well. But really the story is just about her and about her kind of grieving the loss of her father and being able to open up to people and her family dynamics and being able to kind of mend the relationships with her sister and her brother and her mom. So, I liked it on that aspect. And there is a romance, so it is between her and a ghost. And there is an HEA. So if you want to figure out how that happens, you'll just have to read the story. But it was a cute story. But just like I said, I feel like the closed doors for me is just a little, And I just want a little bit more, if that makes any sense. The next book that I read I was very, very, very lucky to get my hands on an arc of The Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate. This is book 5 in the Salacious Players Club series, and I enjoyed it. Okay, so it's not my favorite in the series. Mind you, I've only read Praise. But Praise, no one will ever beat Daddy Emerson for me. So like praise was 5 stars. I gave highest bidder 4 stars. So in this book, you're following Daisy, and Daisy is a waitress at the Salacious Players Club. And every so often they do like this auction to auction off a night with, you know, people at the club. And she makes a bet with one of her friends and she ends up losing. So she has to go up on the auction block. And our hero named Ronan sees her, and there's like a little battle between him and another guy to get her. And I can't remember how much he pays, but he pays an awful lot of money. But nothing happens that night. You know, he knows Daisy, but he doesn't really know her all that well yet. So they don't do anything. And then he finds out that she is staying in her van, and he's like, oh no, that's dangerous. You can't do that. You're coming and you're staying in my penthouse, because he's a billionaire. Okay. Daddy Ronan's got a lot of money. So, they do that. She comes, moves in, feelings start to develop, but what he doesn't know is that she's actually there, and she actually wants to get to know him for other reasons that he's unaware of. I'm not going to say what those reasons are, but just know that there is a trip to Paris in this book, and it is fantastic. Like, once they go to the trip, that's kind of when their relationship starts to blossom. Do know this is an age gap romance. She is 21, he is 54. So there is a 33 year difference. It's a big age gap. It's the biggest age gap I've ever read. And there is daddy kink in this, and he is a pleasure dom. So he likes to see other people having a good time, if you know what I mean. But I highly enjoyed this one. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite, but it was still top, it was still good. And I can't wait for the next one, because in this story, you found out a little bit about who the next book's about. And just what I heard in this book makes me excited for the next book. Oh, and triggers for this. There is grief in this. Both have lost loved ones in their life. She lost her mother. He lost his wife and son years ago in a car crash. So they are still both dealing with grief. So kind of keep that in mind going into this book. Okay, so the next book that I read was Haunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton. I have been putting off this book forever because it was either going to not be as good as everyone said it was, or it was going to be as good as everyone said it was, and I just wasn't going to enjoy it. And I'm always afraid that it's going to be me. I'm the problem. So I did read it, and I did end up giving it 4 stars. It was not what, I don't know. It wasn't what I was expecting. People were like, oh my gosh, it's so good, it's so good. Blah, blah, blah. And it was fine. It just wasn't fantastic for me. In this book, we're following Adeline, who just inherited her grandmother's manor. It's like this old Gothic mansion. And she ends up getting a stalker. Stalker name is Zaid, or as what you probably heard a lot of times, Daddy Zaid. And, Zaid is he's a bad guy. He's a little bit of a psychopath. A little bit. But he's also trying to do good for the world. Because there's a whole subplot of Zaid where he goes and saves women and children who are being sex trafficked. So there's a whole subplot of that going on. Because it is dual point of view. So you're getting both points of view. So Adeline is just, chilling in her home. She's just chilling in her home, and she knows she's got a stalker. She knows, and she keeps bringing back these men to toy with him because she knows he's watching. And then mysteriously, these men are just never seen from again, never heard of again. I wonder why. And it's a wild ride. I will continue with the second book because I want to know how it ends, because it does end in a cliffhanger, and I heard the second book is a little better than the first. Trigger warnings though, because there's a lot. There's talk of sex trafficking. There is gunplay. There is dubious / non-consensual, and I think that's where I went from a 5 to a 4, because I kind of figured or realize I'm not a fan of that. I don't like the dubious consent. Like, it just wasn't for me. Like, as he was doing this stuff, in his mind, he was thinking, oh, she wants it. She just doesn't know that she wants it yet. And all this. I was just like, I can't really get behind that. Because I am a Law & Order SVU fan, okay? And I know when it's not right. So I was just like, ugh. So I went down to a 4. But I will still continue with the series. But it's not even a series. It's a duet. But I just couldn't give it a 5. The next book that I read was The Bachelor by Marnie Mann. I was graciously given an ARC of this from Valentine PR, so I was totally excited to read this. This is book 5 in the Dalton family series, and no, if you ask, I have not read books 1 through 4, but you don't have to because they're all standalones. Like, everyone makes an appearance in this book, so like, I know who everyone's with at this point, but it doesn't matter. I would still go back and read it. I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars because I really enjoyed it. It was my first Marnie Mann, and I liked her writing. Spiciness was there. It was a good time. So in this book, we are following Oakland and Camden. Camden has a twin sister named, is it Hannah? I think her name is Hannah. And when they're 17, he makes a promise to her to never date any of her friends, specifically Oakland, because he came to her and he's like, Oakland's looking really good. And she's like, no, brother. I know you. You're a playboy. We're not doing this. So you got to pinky promise me that you were never going to go near her. So he does. 9 years go by and now Oakland and Hannah are sharing an apartment, and Oakland comes to him and is like, hey, I'm in a predicament. I am still a virgin, and I would like to lose my virginity to someone that I know and and I'm comfortable with. And that so happens to be Camden. And as much as Camden was like, yeah, I want to jump on that. Let's right now. He's like, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait a year and see. Because he's like, I'm sure there's plenty of men, that would love the chance, would love to go out with you. Little does he know that, like, she's in love with him. But, so they wait a year. A year goes by. She texts them. She's like, hey, are you still up for this? So they meet and they're like, okay, let's do some stipulations. So they come up with like this deal that he will help her. He will give her 5 lessons, like 5 sexual lessons. And then on the 5th one would be taking her virginity. But in the process of all this, they fall in love. So I loved this story so much. And I was like, what's the conflict of this going to be? Because I was thinking it has to be, I was thinking, I'm not going to say what it was, but I knew what I was thinking. Is that what it's going to be? And it kind of wasn't. And I can't remember if there was a breakup in this book. Was there a 3rd act breakup in this book? I'm really not remembering if there was or not. If there was, it wasn't like a big deal or something. And anyway, still highly enjoyed it. So the tropes for this, you've got a virgin heroine. We've got, your sexual lessons. You've got best friend's twin brother. I think that's all of them. I highly enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to go back and read the other books in the series. And the last book is Runaway Love by Melanie Harlow. I gave this book 5 stars. I was also given a copy of an ARC for this, and I was so excited because I love Melanie Harlow. I love her writing, and I was not disappointed, as you can tell, because I gave it 5 stars. But in this book, we are following Veronica, and Veronica is set to marry, like, this high society dude, okay? He's a dude. He's not very nice. Something happens on the day of the wedding, and she's like, you know what? I'm not marrying this guy. So she leaves him at the altar. She does a little high flying, kicks him in the face, and she's out of there. I'm not exaggerating. She really does do that. And she's in this small town that she's never been in. She goes to the diner. She's in her wedding dress. She's like crying, doesn't know what she's going to do. Because before this, he had taken everything away from, like, he made her depend on him for everything, for money, for clothes. She had not a lot of friends. And this girl walks in, just happens to be looking for a replacement because she is her brother's nanny and she's going to be leaving. And Veronica's like, I've never dealt with children. I don't know what to do. And the girl's like, well, you know what? You like Hamilton. I like Hamilton. You should just come and interview for the job, which I love Hamilton too. So I was like, game, let's go. So she ends up going to the Sutton residence. No, it's not Sutton residence. Her name is Sutton. They live on Sutton Drive, which she thinks, oh, that's like a sign or something. And she knocks on the door. And here comes our hero, Austin. And she is still in her wedding gown, looking a mess. And he's like, what is this freak doing here? Someone does not have all her marbles. And they do the interview, and he's like, can you cook? And she's like, no. You dealt with children? No. You know, she's unqualified, but she's like, I'm a fast learner. I know I can do this. Well, during this whole interview process, we are getting his point of view because it is dual point of view. And we're getting what he's thinking. And he finds her very attractive. And he's like, I can't do this because I can't because I find her attractive. It's not going to go. Well, she gets the job. Long story short, she gets the job for over the summer. And every summer, the twins, which he has twins, a boy and a girl, I think they're 7. They always go and visit the mom who lives out in California. And for that week, him and her, they kind of just decide to, explore things because the tension gets too much. The tension becomes too much because there is a scene. Okay, they go to like this bar dance. It's called the Spoke Barn or something, and it's kind of like, it's small town. So, you got that feel. He sees her dancing with another man, and he's like, no. So he goes and claims what's his. And after that night, they decide, okay, we're gonna get it out of our system, and then when the kids come back, we'll go back to the way things were. You can't go back to the way things were when the kids come home. You can't, because you caught feelings. You caught feelings, and that's just how it is. And then there's a good groveling scene at the end, and you have your HEA, and it's a great time. I loved this book. It's the first book in the new series. It's going to be the Cherry Tree Harbor series. And I'm hoping that all his siblings get books. I'm assuming that's what it's going to be because he's the oldest of 6. So I'm hoping they all get their own books. But I love this book. Go read it. I'm pretty sure it's on KU. It was a good time. But yeah, so those are all the books that I have read recently. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I actually have read some pretty good books lately. Very proud of myself. But if you did like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. I would love for you to join the family. Let me know down below what was your last 5-star read, because the last book that I read was a 5-star. But if you don't feel like leaving a comment but still want to leave me a little emoji to let me know that you were here, leave me a star emoji, because the last book that I read was a 5-star. If you want to follow me on any of my social medias, they are linked down below, my Goodreads and my Instagram, if you would like to stay more up to date or day to day with what I am reading. But I hope you all are having a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys. Was that it? That better have been it. Plus, I think if you break it down, I can talk more about each book. Ma'am! Maybe you want out. Do you want out? Get out of here then. Go away. Don't be yelling at my door. I don't even remember where I was. I'm out of breath. I am so fat. I can't even get up and let my cat out. Okay. So the first book that I read was... what was it? I don't even know. Let's try that again. Could you stop with the little stud? You're like, oh no. And he goes and rescues... where he goes and rescue. Why can't I say rescues? Rescued? Rescue. He rescues.
He rescued.
He rescues. He saves. He saves women.